Alright, guys, I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw the headlines about full retirement age officially hitting 67 for anyone born in 1960 or later, I had to do a double take. Like, we've known this was coming for years, but now that we're actually here in 2026, and people born in 1960 are turning 66 this year and realizing they can't get their full Social Security benefits yet, this is a massive wake-up call. And honestly, if you were born after 1960, which includes me, by the way, this changes everything about how we need to plan for retirement. I'm talking about when you can actually afford to stop working, how much money you'll get each month, and whether Social Security will even be there when we need it. So today, I want to break down exactly what this means for your money, what you can do about it right now, and why this might actually be the best thing that could happen to your retirement planning. Alright, let's get into it. So here's some quick background for anyone who's not totally familiar with how Social Security works. Full retirement age, or FRA, is basically the age when you can claim 100% of your Social Security benefits based on your lifetime earnings. And this number has been slowly creeping up for decades now. If you were born in 1937 or earlier, your full retirement age was 65. Lucky you. But then Congress passed reforms back in 1983. Yeah, over 40 years ago, that gradually increased this age to help keep Social Security solvent as Americans started living longer. For people born between 1943 and 1954, full retirement age became 66. Then it started increasing by 2 months every year for people born between 1955 and 1960. And now, in 2026, we've officially hit the ceiling. If you were born in 1960 or any year after that, your full retirement age is 67. Period. No exceptions. Now here's why this matters so much right now. We're at this weird inflection point in 2026 where the baby boomers, the massive generation born between 1946 and 1964, are hitting retirement age in droves. The oldest boomers, born in 1946, turned 80 this year and have been collecting benefits for over a decade. But the youngest boomers, born in 1964, are turning 62 this year, which is the earliest age you can claim Social Security. And a lot of them are discovering that if they claim early, they're going to take a massive haircut on their benefits. I'm talking about a permanent reduction of up to 30% compared to what they get if they waited until 67. That's insane. And for people my age, I'm 34, born in 1992, we're looking at full retirement age of 67, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they raise it even higher before we get there. Let me break down the actual numbers here, because this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say your full retirement age benefit, the amount you'd get at 67 based on your lifetime earnings, is $2,000 a month. That's pretty close to the average Social Security benefit right now in 2026, which is around $1,976 per month. If you decide to claim at age 62 because you're tired of working or you need the money, you're not getting $2,000. You're getting about $1,400. That's a 30% reduction, and it's permanent. You don't get that money back later. On the flip side, if you wait until age 70 to claim, and this is the max, you get delayed retirement credits that boost your benefit to about $2,480 a month. That's 24% more than your full retirement age benefit. So we're talking about a difference of over $1,000 a month between claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70. Over a 20-year retirement, that's the difference between getting $336,000 and $595,000 in total benefits. That's a $250,000 swing. Now here's where I get really fired up about this, because the decision of when to claim Social Security is one of the most important financial decisions you'll ever make, and most people get it completely wrong. According to data from the Social Security Administration, nearly 30% of people claim benefits as soon as they turn 62. And I get it. If you hate your job, you're struggling financially, or your health is bad, taking the money early might make sense. But for a lot of people, It's just impatience. They see that money sitting there and think, I'm taking it now before the government changes the rules or goes bankrupt. And that's exactly the wrong way to think about it. Here's my take. Social Security is essentially a government-backed annuity that gives you guaranteed income for life, adjusted for inflation every year. You literally cannot outlive it. Where else can you get that kind of protection? If you claim early and lock in that reduced benefit, you're betting that you won't live very long. But guys, life expectancy keeps going up. A healthy 62-year-old today has a decent chance of living into their mid-80s or even 90s. If you claim at 62 and live to 90, you're getting that reduced benefit for 28 years. That's brutal. Let me share a personal example here. My parents are in their 60s now, and we've had multiple conversations about when they should claim Social Security. My dad wanted to claim at 62 because he was worried about the Social Security Trust Fund running out of money, and honestly, I understand that concern. The latest projections show that the Social Security Trust Fund could be depleted by the mid-2030s if Congress doesn't act. But here's the thing. Even if the trust fund runs dry, Social Security doesn't disappear. The program would still be able to pay out about 75 to 80% of scheduled benefits from ongoing payroll tax revenue. So you're not losing everything. And frankly, I think Congress will step in before that happens. They always do, because cutting Social Security benefits is political suicide. So I convinced my dad to at least wait until his full retirement age of 67 to claim. And if he can manage to wait until 70, even better. Because here's the math that really sold him. Those delayed retirement credits between age 67 and 70 give you an 8% increase per year. Where else are you getting a guaranteed 8% annual return on your money right now? Not in a savings account. Not in most bonds. The stock market might give you that over the long term, but it's volatile. This is guaranteed. It's basically the best deal in retirement planning if you can afford to wait. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. What if you can't afford to wait? What if you lose your job at 62 and you need the income? This is where the rest of your retirement planning comes in. And this is exactly why I'm so obsessed with building wealth early. If you start investing seriously in your 20s and 30s, maxing out your 401k, contributing to a Roth IRA, building a taxable brokerage account, you create a bridge to get you from early retirement to age 70 without having to claim Social Security early. This is what I'm doing right now. I've got rental properties generating passive income. I've got index funds in my retirement accounts. I've got a high-yield savings account for emergencies. The goal is that by the time I'm 60 or 65, I won't need Social Security right away. I can let it grow until 70 and maximize that benefit. And here's another strategy that more people need to know about. If you're married, you've got even more options. Let's say you and your spouse both worked and both have Social Security benefits coming. The lower earning spouse could potentially claim their benefit early while the higher earning spouse delays until 70. Then, when the higher earner finally claims, you're both getting a higher household benefit. And here's the kicker. When one spouse dies, the surviving spouse gets to keep the higher of the two benefits. So if the high earner waited until 70 and maxed out their benefit, the surviving spouse is protected with that larger payment for the rest of their life. This is huge for women especially, since they typically live longer than men and often have lower lifetime earnings. But let me address the counterargument here, because I know what some of you are thinking. Graham, this all sounds great, but what if I take the money at 62, invest it, and come out ahead? This is called the break-even analysis, and it's a legitimate question. If you claim at 62 and invest those payments in the stock market for the next 8 years, while someone else waits until 70 to claim, could you end up with more total wealth? The answer is, maybe, but it's risky. First, you'd need to actually invest that money and not spend it. And let's be honest, most people aren't that disciplined. Second, you'd need the stock market to cooperate for those 8 years, which is no guarantee. Third, you're ignoring the value of having that higher guaranteed income later in life when you might not want to take market risk. And fourth, you're not accounting for the inflation protection Social Security provides. Your benefit gets adjusted every year based on the Consumer Price Index. The 2026 COLA was 2.5%, which means if you're getting $2,000 a month, you're now getting $2,050. That compounds over time. Here's what really blows my mind about this whole situation. We've had decades to prepare for full retirement age hitting 67, and yet most Americans are completely unprepared for retirement. The average retirement savings for people in their 60s is only around $200,000, and that's just the average. Half of people have less than that, and some people have literally nothing saved. If you're relying entirely on Social Security and you claim early at 62, you could be living on $1,400 a month or less. Guys, that's below the poverty line in most of the country. You cannot retire comfortably on that. So what do you actually do with this information? Here's my step-by-step action plan, whether you're 25 or 55 right now. First, if you're young like me, do not count on Social Security as your primary retirement plan. Assume it might not be there, or it'll be significantly reduced. Max out your 401k every year. The contribution limit in 2026 is $24,000 if you're under 50, or $30,000 if you're over 50 with catch-up contributions. Open a Roth IRA and contribute the max, $7, $500 for 2026 if you're under 50. Invest in low-cost index funds like VTI or VOO and let compound interest work its magic for 30 to 40 years. Do this consistently, and you'll be a millionaire by retirement even without Social Security. Second, if you're in your 50s or early 60s and retirement is getting close, run the numbers on your claiming strategy. Go to ssa.gov, create a My Social Security account if you haven't already, and look at your projected benefits at different claiming ages. Use the Social Security calculator to see your break-even age, the point where waiting to claim pays off versus claiming early. For most people, if you live past your early 80s, waiting is the better move. Also, think about your health and family longevity. If your parents lived into their 90s, you probably should too, which makes waiting more valuable. Third, consider working longer, even if it's part-time. I know nobody wants to hear this, but if you can work until 67 or even 70, even just a few days a week or doing consulting work, it completely changes your retirement math. You're not drawing down your savings, you might still be contributing to retirement accounts, and you're letting Social Security grow. Plus, working keeps you active and engaged, which is good for your health anyway. Fourth, and this is crucial, maximize your Social Security benefit by maximizing your lifetime earnings. Social Security calculates your benefit based on your highest 35 years of earnings, adjusted for inflation. If you've got some low-earning years in there from when you were young or took time off, you can replace them with higher-earning years later in your career. Every extra dollar you earn and pay Social Security taxes on could mean extra dollars in retirement. And fifth, if you're married or divorced, understand your spousal and survivor benefits. You might be eligible for benefits based on your spouse's or ex-spouse work record, which could be higher than your own. Don't leave money on the table because you didn't know these options existed. Let me hit you with one more thing that's really important: taxes. A lot of people don't realize that Social Security benefits can be taxable depending on your other income. If you've got a pension, withdrawals from a traditional 401k or IRA, investment income, or you're still working part-time, you could pay income tax on up to 85% of your Social Security benefits. This is where having a Roth IRA becomes incredibly valuable because Roth withdrawals don't count toward that calculation. The more tax-free income you can create in retirement, the less of your Social Security gets taxed. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. There are scenarios where claiming early makes sense. If you've got serious health issues and don't expect to live into your 80s, taking the money early is probably the right call. If you've lost your job and you've exhausted your savings and unemployment, you might not have a choice. If you have a much younger spouse and you're the lower earner, it might make sense for you to claim early so they can claim a spousal benefit. And if you genuinely have a specific plan for that money, like paying off high-interest debt or investing in something that'll generate income, then maybe early claiming works. But for most healthy people who can afford to wait, waiting is almost always the better long-term move. Here's my final take on all of this. The fact that full retirement age is now 67 for everyone born after 1960 is actually a good thing, even though it feels like we're getting screwed. Why? Because it forces us to be more realistic about retirement planning. We're living longer than our grandparents did. We need our money to last longer. Starting Social Security at 62 made sense when life expectancy was 70. It doesn't make as much sense when you might live to 90. This change is pushing us to think more carefully about retirement, to save more aggressively, and to make smarter claiming decisions. And honestly, that's exactly what we need. If you're watching this right now and you're anywhere close to retirement age, please run the numbers before you claim Social Security. Talk to a financial advisor if you need to. Don't just claim at 62 because you're tired of working. Think long term. And if you're young like me, don't count on Social Security at all. Build your own retirement through consistent investing, living below your means, and making smart money decisions every single day. If this video helped you understand Social Security better or gave you a new perspective on your retirement planning, smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and drop a comment telling me when you plan to claim Social Security or what you're doing right now to prepare for retirement. I read every comment, and I love hearing from you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.